All right, let's dive into a really big question today. How do you find what's true in a world that, let's be honest, often feels built on illusions? We're going on a journey to understand how our reality is shaped, and more importantly, what tools we can use to start seeing beyond the shadows.
We're going to start with this heavy hitter from Plato. It's a bit of a warning, right? The path to truth can be a lonely one. And why is that? Well, because it forces you to question the very things that everyone else just accepts.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll explore what it means to be in this cave of society. Then we'll talk about philosophy as the key to our freedom. After that, we'll look at science as a path forward. And finally, we'll tackle the biggest hurdle of all, our own integrity.
Our journey really starts where we all start, inside what the philosopher Plato famously called the cave. It's an incredible metaphor for being human and trying to figure out what's actually real.
The idea is actually pretty simple, but it's so profound. Just imagine you were born in a cave and you're chained up so you can only ever look at the wall in front of you. Behind you, there's a fire, and people are walking past it holding up different objects. All you ever see are the shadows they cast on the wall. To you, those shadows wouldn't just be shadows, they would be reality. You wouldn't know anything else.
So, who's holding up the objects in our world today? Well, it's all the major influences in our lives, isn't it? Our parents, our teachers, our friends, the media we're plugged into 24/7. Religions, governments, they all project a version of reality onto our walls, shaping our worldview from the second we're born.
Okay, so if we're all stuck in this cave, how in the world do we get out? The very first, and maybe the most important tool we have, is philosophy. It's the key that lets us start questioning if the shadows are the whole story.
At its heart, philosophy is just the act of asking those really big, fundamental questions. It's not about pretending to have all the answers, not at all. It's about having the courage to question everything, from why we're here to the very rules we live by.
You know, the philosopher Osho made this brilliant point once. He asked his professor, if physics is just physics, anywhere in the world, why do we call philosophy Indian or Western? His point is that the drive to question, that search for understanding, it's universal. It doesn't belong to any one culture. It's just a core part of being human. And that's exactly why philosophy is the first step toward freedom. It hands us the tools to think critically, to poke holes in assumptions, and to finally, turn our heads away from the wall of shadows and start climbing out of that cave for ourselves.
So once philosophy gets our minds unlocked and asking the right questions, we need a way to actually find some answers. And that brings us to our next tool, science. But not science as a bunch of facts in a textbook, science as a way of thinking.
I mean, Carl Sagan just nailed it here. Science is about skeptically interrogating the universe. It's a process, a method, for testing our ideas against reality, and it has a built-in understanding that we humans can get things wrong. It's how we check to see if the world outside the cave matches what we think is out there.
You can really see a fundamental difference in approaches here. Science is all about testing, learning, and, this is key, changing and improving when new evidence comes along. It's a dynamic process. This is pretty different from systems that are based on following a set of unchanging beliefs. One is a journey of discovery, the other is a fixed map.
And this is the engine that drives it all. It's a constant loop. You observe something, you challenge an idea about it, you fail a lot. You change your mind based on what you learned, and then you do it all over again. It's this beautiful, messy, constant process of trying to get closer to what's real.
So we've got our toolkit, philosophy to ask the big questions and science to test for answers. But there's one last huge obstacle on this journey. And that obstacle is us, the people actually doing the science.
The author of our source material talks about his own experience as a scientist, and honestly, it's pretty disheartening. He saw data being fabricated, he saw a lot of self-interest. It's a powerful reminder that even the best system in the world is only as good as the people who use it.
And check out this incredible quote from way back in the 11th century. The scientist Ibn al-Haytham said that if you really want the truth, you have to become an enemy of everything you read. You have to attack every idea, especially your own, because you have to assume you're biased. That's the level of skepticism we're talking about.
And that fight is still happening right now. People like the microbiologist Elizabeth Bick have dedicated their whole careers to exposing bad research. It's a constant battle to make sure science is trustworthy, to make sure it's honest.
And this is why it all has to work together. Science gives us this incredible, powerful tool, like a wild horse. But philosophy provides the ethics, the why, the harness that directs that power toward truth instead of just running wild. A truly great scientist has to be a philosopher too.
And that's what this all boils down to. This whole quest to climb out of the cave, it's not just for some academics in an ivory tower. It's a personal responsibility. For you, for me, for all of us, to question what we're told, to look for the evidence, and to try to live with a little more intellectual honesty.
So, I'll leave you with this question. Just take a second and really think about it. What are the unchallenged ideas, the cultural assumptions, the shadows that are being projected onto the wall of your own cave? Because just being able to identify them, well, that's the first real step into the light.